Hey, everybody! Today I will tell you about a story called The Way of Life of the Cannon Fodder Girl. I will ask you to subscribe to the channel so as not to miss interesting and similar stories, and also it helps my channel very much. Enjoy it! Chen looked out of the window and asked about who made the servants do this. Chiki didn't understand what was going on. A great prince appeared in front of them. The servant fell at his feet and asked for his forgiveness because it turned out to be an accident. He was holding a kitten that got hit by the carriage and asked him to shut up and asked him how he was going to make amends. The servant asked him to save his life. He was ready to cut off his arms or legs, but only if the prince would forgive him. Tsitsi asked about how he would be willing to cut off his arms and legs because of such or what. The third princess explained that if that servant got to the emperor, it would be even worse for him. The great prince did so little wrong. She knows only that his joy or anger is manifested only by deeds, not emotions. The servant kept asking the prince for mercy. He was willing to make up for everything. To which the great prince replied that his severed arms or legs would do him no good. Chen asked the little girl not to go there and stay out of it, as he wouldn't hesitate to handle it himself, and they should just leave. Chiki informed her that it was okay. She would go over to the kitty, and so she did. The seventh princess looked at the kitty and said that it looked like it had a scratch on it and she could bandage it to stop the bleeding. The grand prince asked about her knowing how to bandage him or what. The little girl explained that she had saved a white tiger once, so she wanted to save the kitty. The prince was a little surprised. The seventh princess informed that he would need to be sent to the hospital anyway and treated with herbs, and he would be fine in a couple days. The prince reported that his cat didn't like people, and so he shouldn't touch it, because it would bite. But after the dressing, the kitten itself went to the baby to lick her. The prince noticed it and could not believe it, because he was always naughty. He asked the girl who she was, to which Tsitsi introduced herself to him. The prince reported that she looked like the emperor. The little girl informed that she was going to Gojijian to listen to a study, so she would go. That's how they parted ways, but just outside the carriage, they met again. The prince informed them to go to the hospital. Chen asked about him going up or what, to which the little girl replied that he seemed to want to take the kitty to the hospital. Chen asked about him finding out who had hurt his kitty and if he would retaliate. The little girl couldn't believe that he was really that serious. Suddenly, the kitten jumped out of the prince's arms and ended up in Chiki's arms. The third princess asked her to let it go. This cat is his life force. She doesn't need to touch it. To which Tsitsi replied that it wasn't her, it was him. The seventh princess stroked the cat and turned to her brother to tell him that this kitten is so cute. The great prince asked about her liking her. The cat continued to lick the girl's hands. Then the brother called the cat named Niang Niang and asked her to come to him. As soon as the little girl heard this name, she immediately thought that it was a sweet and noble name. The great prince asked for the carriage to stop. Chiki asked about weren't they going to the hospital. He got off the carriage and explained that Niang Niang would be afraid of the doctor. Chiki asked Chen about why they are not going to the hospital. Does he have some idea or what? The third princess replied that she doesn't know him that well, so she has an idea. They could run away and have some fun. The little girl exhaled and thought about how these princes are strange and elusive, so we should stay away from them. Suddenly, Brother Erhuang appeared near the window and suddenly asked about why he got into their carriage. Chi-Chi was very much startled. She turned around and greeted her brother. The prince asked about whether she knew that man. The seventh princess sharply closed the curtains and asked the man to get out of there, while she herself shouted to the coachman to collapse. The prince didn't realize what was going on. It's inappropriate for now. Guojikwan. Chiki informed her sister to go first as she needed to go to the bathroom. Chen asked about going with her. The little girl replied that she didn't need to. She was on her own, and that she should hurry to class. Chen said she would wait inside. Chiki didn't realize that someone was already there. The sixth brother appeared and asked about what she was doing there. After all, it was a national studies class. The little girl asked about when he came to Chinese. Shengu informed that he finished the beginner's course 3 days ago, and now he came to listen to the Chinese lesson. He didn't say a word to her, to which the sixth prince asked about why he had to report. The little girl thought about the fact that, yes, he basically didn't have to tell her. After all, they had gotten together because of the benefits and then split up. This made the little girl very sad. Shengu saw the sad face, explained that it wasn't about that, and asked her not to take it personally. The little girl informed him that it was okay and she would go. Shengu grabbed her hand and asked about whether she would go to class. Chiki replied that she might as well. He touched her nose and informed her that it was better not to fall asleep this time. Chiki promised that only this time she would definitely not fall asleep. In class, the little girl fell asleep again. He stroked her head and informed her that it was already the second lesson. Chiki asked about her falling asleep again or what. The seventh princess explained that she was a baby after all, and babies are sleepy and lethargic when they get older. Shesta's little brother informed her that she couldn't sleep in class. She noticed a hooded man. It was the sixth emperor or something. The little girl grabbed her clothes and turned to her brother with frightened eyes. Shengu asked about her being scared of a lesson about martial arts or what. The man took out a dagger and started talking about that victory strategy, enemy strategy, attack strategy, close combat plan, fusion plan, defeat plan, a total of 6 plans and strategies. He asked about who would answer what it meant. He saw Chiki, pointed his dagger at her, and asked why a woman was present. Shengu replied that she was just listening to the lesson and not disturbing anyone. Chiki said that she was very obedient and not noisy, and asked to be allowed to stay there with her brother. The man explained that women have always been untalented. Obedience is good, even though she is small. She should not listen to men's lessons. Even if she listens to them, she will never understand. So she should leave. She didn't realize that this dynasty is so patriarchal or what. They will remain misguided and never realize that talent is meek. She rose from her seat and reported what he had just asked about the 6 tactics of war. The first 3 are used by the higher-ups, and the last 3 are used by the underprivileged, each containing 6 calibers for a total of 36 calibers. She asked about what he had asked about, after all. Everyone turned to her and didn't understand how she knew that, since she only looked about 6 years old. Then the teacher decided to ask about the defense principle of Wei Liao and the warring kingdoms. Chi confidently began to answer his question that Howling Kingdoms, the first 12 chapters, are devoted to politics and warfare, and the remaining 10 wreath tactics, advocating the implementation of the military principle of punishing violence and prohibiting injustice, and the martial mindset of allowing the enemy to judge the general before raising troops, which contained only dialectical materialism. This surprised the man very much, and he asked about who she was. Chi introduced herself as the younger sister of the 6th prince, the 7th princess of the Chiki dynasty. The man asked her to sit down. It seems he underestimated women. With such accomplishments, she needs to work harder. It's a good thing she didn't skip classes in middle school. Shengu asked about where she was with that. After all, he had never seen her studying military lessons, to which the little girl replied that she had only quoted a few words of Daddy's that she had heard. The 6th little brother asked about him really saying that. Baby answered that she didn't say much, just a few words. She asked about the truth that modern women are good without talent, to which the man replied that they were not. He asked her about the fact that she wanted to be an ungrammatical and talentless woman, to which the babe replied that no, a woman is a person, not an accessory. Better to go into battle and guard territory to be free than a canary in a cage that can't read a word. Such statements he had never heard before. Babe went on to say that she has people she wants to protect, relationships she wants to keep, and she should know how to do those things. She doesn't want to be left behind by important people. Shengu thought about the fact that she was smiling, but he couldn't see the silliness in her eyes that was inherent to her age. The emotions she was showing, the things she was saying. 6th brother had asked her then to stop fluttering her tongue and do things that kids her age do, to not meet monsters in the dark. Chiki understood everything. That's when she found out. He made it known that she should get back already if she was tired because he was going to go sword training. The little girl asked about the lesson being over or what. Shengu explained that it was only theory, and the practice is that when going into the arena, swords and guns have no eyes. It is best not to watch a man saying he is going into battle to kill the enemy. Tsitsi asked to wait for her. Noon. Martial arts arena. The little girl looked around and noticed that the hammer that was there, it was much taller than herself. Behind her, she noticed a huge man. She kept thinking that if she was as strong as that, she wouldn't have to be afraid of ferocious opponents anymore. She just admired that guy. He said hello to her, to which the little girl did the same in return. He asked her about whether she wanted to play with that hammer or what. Tsitsi culturally declined. The guy introduced himself to her as Wang Daju and said that he was in Chie's class. Wang Daju asked about her first time there because he hadn't seen her before. To him, she is such a charming girl. Fantastic art class. It only recruits capable people with talents. It seems like this kid is very suitable. Chi-Chi was approached by Shengu and asked about why she came there. Wang Daju asked about him being her brother, because you look good. But only the sixth prince didn't answer anything and just grabbed the little girl's hand and left with her. Chi-Chi asked him what was the matter, to which Shengu asked her not to have too much contact with strangers. Shengu went on to say that at first glance, he thought the evil one was sly. One should not do business with him. Chi-Chi reported that it was only him with his caution that seemed foolish. The sixth prince reported that there are foxes in the henhouse, so she should be careful. The little girl knows that very well. He asked her to go with him. A voice came from behind him saying, "What a coincidence." He saw the adorable Chi-Chi again. The little girl thought to herself that it wasn't such a good coincidence. She didn't realize that was it, really the second prince again. The second prince reported that the last time Chi-Chi ran away, they were still on good terms, so he would say a few words. She has grown up since then. Indeed, the child changes every day. Now he understands the joy of a father raising a child. He went on to talk about how she clung to the sixth prince so much when she saw him. She is so scared and wants to hide. He asked her to call him second brother. It would be more familiar. She didn't understand why he liked to do that so much. Suddenly, arrows started flying, one of which did catch the second brother a little. Shengu, who was the one shooting them, informed that it was time to stop. After all, he was the one who brought Chi-Chi there, and he would take good care of her. The second prince reported that his new shooting technique was good, not the same person anymore. Chi-Chi didn't understand what he meant. As he changed so much eel, he is the same as her. Sheng explained that there was nothing to compare him to. He turned to Chi-Chi and told her that it was getting late, and she had to go back. Chi-Chi asked about him not doing archery. Shengu asked about how it was so important to her that she hadn't seen it before. The second prince wanted to see how long he would hide his foxtail. On the carriage ride home, Chi-Chi wondered what the sixth brother was thinking, about the second prince, or about everyone finding out his secret. They started talking together and stopped together out of embarrassment. Chi-Chi turned to the sixth brat and suggested that they talk. He asked about the fact that she just wanted to call the other brother, or what. The little one thought about him being confused because of that, or what. She replied that he was easily fooled. She wondered if he would want to finish her off in a fit of rage and feed her body to the dogs. She went to her brother and told him that she knew it was wrong. He was arrogant, cruel, mean, but it was too late. If she can't cry, she should just pinch herself. That's what Chi-Chi did. Shengu asked her not to pinch herself, because he believes her. He went on to say that the last exam for the Imperial College Elementary School is in 10 days, so we need to prepare sooner rather than later. The little girl reported that she was already tired. Why did he remind her? Shengu asked her to do her best, because it was already clear to everyone that she was falling asleep as soon as she entered the classroom, so the teachers had given up hope on her grades. 10 days later, Gojijen. The teacher announced that the final test was over, so they had to finish writing and hand in their papers. The little girl was lying on the desk, thinking that she had been studying and suffering all her life, but there was no way to escape the exam. What a pity. Chen asked her what was wrong with her, because she had lost so much weight. Maybe she wasn't being fed at all. Chi-Chi said that maybe she had lost weight in a short time. Chen asked about the teacher prescribing her something, why she didn't know about it. The teacher was afraid that because of her marks, her father would hold him accountable, so the teaching was in excess, everyday homework. Chen asked who had done this to her and suggested that she go to the courtyard to see how fat her white dog had gotten. The little girl explained that it was like a barrel and added that it was a white tiger, not a dog. The third princess agreed and then added that to be like Chiki, she would soon get a lion. The emperor came. The little girl immediately rushed into her father's arms. The emperor asked why she was running so fast and if he fell down, what? The little girl replied that she missed her daddy. Chen greeted her father as well. The emperor said that their test results came back, they did very well. Taifu praised him for their wonderful article on management. Chen said that Taifu had taught her that. Chi-Chi wondered why she had missed that question. They were writing the same test or something. She didn't find this question on it. Suddenly came the realization that there were more questions on the back of the sheet. The seventh princess immediately rushed into her father's arms and asked what if she did poorly on the exam, missed a lesson, for example. Father asked how could it be that his Chiki was so smart and had never missed a class. After dinner at the palace, Mr. Zhao came in. The emperor asked what Chiki's test paper was. He answered positively. At the same time, the seventh princess stopped eating. Chen asked her what's wrong, why she's not eating. The little girl asked that if she didn't pass the exam, Daddy wouldn't beat her, to which the third princess replied that he wouldn't. Tsitsi was already happy. But then she added that he'd go straight to killing her. But the emperor is crazy about her and will keep her alive, so she shouldn't worry. As soon as she said that, the seventh princess became even more worried. Mr. Zhao suggested that His Majesty take a look at the seventh princess's work. After a couple of minutes, after reading it, he abruptly slapped the table. Seeing his face, the seventh princess thought that that was it. Her childhood was over. The emperor only turned to his daughter, to which she immediately announced that she was going to the restroom. He ordered her to stop. Chen asked about her writing the exam so badly or what. Chiki turned to her father and asked about why they shouldn't eat first and then eat later. He shouted and ordered her to come over to him. This horrified both daughters. The little girl thought she had no choice but to cry. He shouted for her to stop crying and explain what she had written. Lian asked her to fully explain what she wrote, to which her daughter replied that it was just symbols. Her father informed her that if she did not explain what they were, he would punish her and her sister. After dinner at the palace, Mohan, who had arrived, did not understand why the servants were kneeling. Suddenly a crying sound was heard sharply. The servant reported that the seventh princess had failed the test and had angered His Highness therefore. Mohan asked about him hitting her or what. The prince immediately rushed to the door and informed that she is still young and will write the test well next time. The servant informed that he cannot intrude like that. Mohan abruptly opened the door with his foot and asked His Highness that he should not hit her, for it would raise a knife in her heart. The emperor explained that he was raising his children, so he should mind his own business. The prince reported that he heard her crying and immediately rushed to his niece. He asked the little girl where he had hit her. The little girl immediately rushed into her uncle's arms. She reported that her daddy had not hit her. Then the uncle asked why she was crying. She had so much strength that her body began to go numb. She moved closer to her uncle and explained in his ear that Papa's eyes were so angry, that's why she was scared and cried. To which the prince replied that she had better be his daughter. The emperor ordered them to stop and took his daughter away from him. Lian explained that if he looked at her test, he would be just as angry as he was. The little girl handed her uncle the test. He looked at it and asked how she could have written it like that, because she was missing a few strokes in each symbol. Uncle began to read that the northern border is tormented year-round by Japanese pirates, and the emperor has sent troops there, and there are 2 of them. Cao Dai knows how to place troops on the water. Meng Jing knows the tactics of the Japanese pirates. Mohan asked about which of the above is right. Chiki replied that no one can pacify them. Only the emperor leading the troops can pacify the border, the inhabitants, and become famous for centuries to come. Mohan asked that if it wasn't any of the above, why did she choose her father? To which the little girl replied, "Then the northern frontier is in the desert, so we will have to scatter troops over water." The uncle inquired why not Mungjing then. Chi-Chi replied, because the border is still in danger to this day. Since it is not peaceful, he is not capable of it. The prince stroked her head and informed her that she is so small but so smart, and it comes as a shock. The seventh princess didn't understand. Shouldn't children of 5.5 years old understand this? Then the emperor turned to his daughter and asked her if she knew how to lead troops into battle. She knew, but could not say something beyond her age. The emperor said that the king of a country only leads troops when there is a guarantee of victory. Chi-Chi replied that she doesn't understand. She thinks that she and Dad are wise, and if they go somewhere, they can come back. Leon asked about why Chi-Chi thought her father was capable of it. The seventh princess thought about praising them, but not too conspicuously. The emperor asked why not talk about all the uncles. She realized that it didn't need to be stretched. Father kept asking about what she thought he was so good at. Chi-Chi replied that Dad was the most powerful. He informed that he thought the strongest should have a reward. Sitsi then kissed her father on the cheek. She seemed to have successfully dodged the smack, and Daddy backed off. Chi-Chi asked about the fact that she wasn't too stupid after all. Her father patted her on the head and explained that she was so smart and also had unique ideas. He turned around and reported that they didn't have the sniff of talent to give top marks at all. Mr. Zhao appeared and asked about what the orders were. Leon picked up the test paper and reported that let the people from the Imperial College change it. That is, give it a higher grade. This surprised the seventh princess very much. Chi-Chi turned to her father and said that there was no need to change the grade, because next time she would just write the test well. There was no need to do that. The emperor asked about what she thought was unworthy of the highest grade. The little girl explained that she would try her best to get a better grade, or it would be unfair to the other students. After all, she's his daughter, born with status, so why worry about this fairness, since no one would dare to squeak? Chi-Chi reported that those who claimed the existence of jumping horses in ancient times were severely punished. The horses got scared and trampled the world, and the ruler tried to unite those people by all means. The emperor asked about what she meant. The seventh princess explained that the emperor had broken the law and committed the same crime as the common people. Even though she was his daughter, he must maintain the image of the wise emperor as an emperor who was fair to everyone. These words surprised Uncle very much. He asked about how his brother had produced such a daughter, to which the emperor replied that it was simply worth repeating after him. Everyone sobbed. Leon informed that then she shouldn't fail the exam next time. Chi-Chi promised that she would work hard. Her father didn't understand when she became so smart and different from his daughter. He hugged her. Uncle was watching. The emperor asked him not to look at him like that. He had picked beautiful girls for him, and he would be able to choose the next day. Mohan didn't understand which girls he was talking about. Leon explained that he was over 20, so it was time to get married. The prince thanked his brother and asked him to marry him. The emperor hoped someone would be attracted to him this time. Leon thought about the fact that he had never shown interest in anyone. There was a time when he suspected that his brother preferred men. Mohan said that he would do his best, and then asked if he could borrow Chi-Chi for a day. He explained that among all of them, he would choose the one that Sitsi would approve of. Asked the little girl that she would like to choose her aunt. Chi-Chi said she would have to think about it, as she might not feel comfortable outside the palace. The emperor told them not to stay long and to come back soon. Leon explained that he was responsible for his daughter, for he couldn't bear it if anything happened to her. Chen asked about Chi-Chi still being alive. Did the emperor punish her or what? The servant reported that His Majesty came out of the seventh princess's palace, so she is fine. The third princess asked if she was all right or what, because she thought she heard her crying. The servant reported that the Duke was there. She ran into her uncle. He told her how he realized it was her who ordered Chi-Chi to be thrown into the forest. She began to explain that it was all a huge misunderstanding. Mohan explained that if he ever heard of anything like that again, he wouldn't stand for it. Chen promised that it wouldn't happen again. At the end, The third princess added that Chiki had changed. She would love and protect her. Her uncle thanked her for doing such a thing, much to the princess's surprise. Next morning, Duke Wan Li's residence. Mohan asked the little girl that she must be tired after the long trip. He asked the cooks to prepare the most delicious appetizers for her, and they also prepared fish for her. He knows how much she loves it. To which Tsitsi replied that all she needs is him. Sounds tempting, she was so hungry. Mohan stroked the princess on the head and explained that he had some matters to attend to, so he would be gone for a while, and she could eat. If she needed anything, she should tell the servants. The little girl ate quietly. Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice saying that she couldn't find the sword. She went to the sound and saw the sixth prince there. The little girl asked what he was doing there. Shengu asked if he was not allowed to be there or what. Chiki wondered if he was also helping his uncle find a wife or what. The uncle came and informed that he must have left him in the backyard. Shengu thanked him. Mohan petted the little girl and explained that he was leaving and she should wait for him there. Shengu walked over and sat at the table. He asked his sister about why she was there. The little girl came over and explained that she thought her brother was also helping her uncle find a wife. Shengu was surprised. They seemed to have different reasons for being there. Brat reported that it seems that she and uncle are close. Chiki replied that he treats her well. Then Shastoy Brat asked about if she and him, are they close? To which the little girl answered positively. They decided to form an alliance. Of course they are close. Shengu replied that was a lie. He kept asking her about why she doesn't visit him. She is there to help her uncle find, traveled all the way there but never once came to visit her brother. The little girl asked him to stop banging, for she was not a drum. She poured him some water and handed him a glass with the words that she would definitely visit him next time. He agreed. Her uncle came by and asked about what she was doing, taking care of her older brother or what. Chiki was happy to finally see him. He brought the sword Shengu had asked about. The sixth sibling informed that he likes to be taken care of. Mohan explained that he was jealous because he wanted Tsitsi to rub his shoulders too, so he took her in his arms and offered to go outside. He saw his older brother's face suddenly darken. It scares him. Chiki reported that she felt like he had taken her to help him choose a wife. Uncle explained that it was just an excuse for her father to let him go. He wasn't going to get married yet. Suddenly, a servant appeared and said that he had brought portraits of women. He just had to say who he liked, and they would send her to him. He took that list and thought about the fact that Han had sent the list after all, which he said he didn't have time for. Chiki opened the portraits and was already showing him the beautiful ones she thought. Mohan looked and reported that she had a beautiful figure, but her face was not beautiful enough. Then she showed another one, the one who was the daughter of the Chancellor. Shengu intervened and explained that the Chancellor was too loyal to the Queen. He didn't like another one, but there was one that his uncle did like. Face as round as the moon, chiseled figure. Her father will like her. He would recommend her as a new concubine. He asked about, it's not like she doesn't know her father's preferences. Her uncle will add her to the list of concubines. It is as if she is reading his mind. Mohan informed that he knows exactly what kind of women her father likes. Chiki thought about what the original story said about the rift in her uncle and father's relationship. But if the father marries a woman his brother recommends, and she gives him a child, the story might end differently. The little girl reports that the uncle is right. Then she will choose someone for both her father and him. After a while, Tsitsi reports that the left pile is for the uncle, and the right pile is for the father. They are the same. It looks like she divided everything equally. It is said that red women destroy empires. She hopes that this time they will save uncle's life. By the way, if the beautiful groom diverts her father's attention, he won't have time to worry about her grades. She loves him and Daddy very much, so they should let her take care of them. Her uncle informed about the fact that he doesn't need to help her. It's better for her to help her father. Chiki asked her uncle about going to the lookout if she can go with him, to which Mohan replied that he would go alone. It seems Tsitsi is determined to marry him. She asked him to choose his wife wisely as she had spent a lot of time in making this list, so he should try harder. Mohan, on the other hand, quickly gets ready to leave. She is doing this to save him. Chiki remembered that she forgot about the sixth prince. She turned around and saw him. The little girl asked about if they could choose portraits for her father together. Shengu informed that they were alone, so she could not pretend to be a child. She sat down and started looking through the portraits again. The little girl asked about him coming there for the sword, to which the sixth sibling informed her that she shouldn't ask too many questions. She didn't need to know. Shengu then asked that she wasn't there just to choose her uncle, why she was really there. Chiki replied that his older brother didn't need to ask too many questions. He didn't need to know. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She showed him the portrait and informed him that there were girls between the ages of 14 and 15 on the list, and then asked about whether he wanted to take a look or not. Now even Sheng didn't understand who this Chi-Chi was. The little girl kept talking about how that girl is so cute. She thinks he'll get along with her just fine. The sixth little brother asked if she even knew what kind of women he liked or not. The seventh princess asked her brother if he liked that girl. She could see he was angry with her about it. He took the portrait of that girl and started cutting it up, saying that he likes her. After all, she chose her for him. He likes her so much he doesn't even know how to fight it. The little girl was shocked at what was happening. She immediately started apologizing to him. He replied that he didn't need to apologize. He thanked her for taking an interest in his personal affairs. Babe asked about him being mad at her because the girl was only 13 years old or what. She didn't know he was interested in older women. Shengu got even more angry. He coughed violently. Chiki wondered about what had happened. She didn't understand. He coughed because of her. What if he fainted? She walked closer to him. Shengu was shaking all over. Chiki noticed what was wrong with his face, for red marks appeared there. He ordered her to get away, not to look at him, and to turn away. Chiki didn't understand why he was acting like that, because he was angry with her. Perhaps that's why he doesn't leave his palace on the 15th of every month. She didn't understand what caused his illness. Shengu asked about where his medicine was. Chiki asked about if he was all right, if she could help him. Suddenly, something rumbled. The little girl thought about whether he died or what. She turned to her older brother and asked about if he was okay. She abruptly ran over to him and yelled about him not breathing, need to call 911, but then remembered where she was and called for servants, a doctor. He opened his eyes and grabbed her hand and asked her to be quiet. Tsitsi couldn't believe his body had come back to life. She asked her little brother about the fact that he was really okay, to which he replied that he was fine. That day hadn't come yet, and the poison was already making itself felt. He should up his medication to keep it under control. He couldn't believe she'd seen him. He didn't know whether to kill her or not. The little girl took his hand and asked about him being sick or what. Is it serious because his hands are so cold? The sixth prince asked about her not being afraid of him, to which the seventh princess replied that she is afraid, of course she is, but she and he made an agreement. They are friends. If he dies, and her father suddenly gets tired of her, she will be a lonely orphan again. Shengu kept asking about what if he tries to kill her for learning his secret, to which the little girl said that everyone has secrets. Sometimes it gets easier if you have someone to share your secret with. He asked her not to tell it to anyone. If she blabbed it, she would die the same day, to which the princess replied that she understood. The seventh princess reported that she was glad she was so quick-witted, or else she wouldn't have been there a long time ago. The sixth little brother asked what she was mumbling about, to which the little girl replied that she promised to keep his secret a secret. She wanted to leave quickly, but Shengu grabbed her by her clothes and explained that dead people don't tell stories. He makes it sound like he's going to kill her. Her brother picked her up in his arms and proceeded to tell her that he would believe her, and then asked her about her not letting him down. To which the little girl replied that of course not, swearing on her favorite food, chicken legs. He stroked her head and told her that she knew what would happen if she broke her promise. Chiki asked him to stop scaring her, because she knows everything. Early evening, the palace of the seventh princess. Shengu asked her to come in. He informed that she should stay away from him. She turned around and asked what he was talking about. Shengu explained that he didn't like him. Chi-Chi realized that the sixth sibling was living by his own rules. What a teenager. In the palace. Awan asked the princess about where she got all those portraits. Sis asked who they were since they are all so cute. The little girl informed that she had chosen them for her father and uncle. Suddenly, the emperor appeared and asked about who she had chosen for him there. The little girl asked about what brought him to her at such an hour. Her father moved closer to her and explained that he had come to find out what wisdom she had shared with her uncle. She held out the portraits to him. The emperor asked about him, asking her to bring the portraits there or what. The little girl explained that she had chosen the most beautiful women for him. He asked that she had brought a bunch of portraits for him and for her uncle, but why? The little girl said that because there were not so many women in his palace. Besides, they are all kind of weird and crazy. Chi-Chi went on to say that her siblings are all grown up, and they don't want to play with her, so she wants a little brother. The emperor just kept quiet. Her uncle told her about the things to look out for. He said that women with wide hips have an easier time giving birth, and a round face means that a wife will serve her husband well. The emperor asked about the fact that it was her uncle who told all those things. How dare he tell such things to his daughter? Leon decided that it would be impossible for his brother to take Chi-Chi away from him. The princess asked about whether he liked any of them. Her father thanked her for doing such a job, but asked her not to do such a thing again in the future, to which the daughter informed that it was her responsibility. Mr. Zhao asked about the fact that he wanted to find the ninth prince, to which the emperor replied that they should find him, then added that they should also find more people with round faces and big buttocks. Chunhua Palace. A man came to the sixth prince and informed him not to pretend to be asleep, for he knew he was not. Shengu asked what the man had come for. The man replied that he had come to see how the man was doing after revealing his secret. Shengu asked about how the man knew about it. The one asked the prince to eventually stay away from that little girl. It won't be good if they become friends. Shengu explained that he had a sense of proportion. The man asked what sense of proportion he was talking about. The little ignoramus. He slapped the sixth prince with words that he would have a hard time deciding to kill the little one. Shengu ordered the man not to touch her. The man reasoned that he shouldn't get his head in the clouds because he wouldn't always be able to protect her. He threw him a bottle of medicine and told him that he should never forget who he was. The new year is approaching, and the palace is very lively. It's morning, the imperial palace. Mr. Zhao asked His Majesty to take a look at the gift list as the end of the year is approaching. The emperor said everything is in order. Let everything be under control on New Year's Eve, and let the princes and princesses choose their favorite items. He is personally preparing for the Chi-Chi ceremony. The little girl woke up. Her father asked about her reading it or not. She abruptly threw herself into reading. The emperor would like to ask her about how she sees the meaning of the phrase, "Courage is also courageous," in the Chaogui debate. Chi-Chi replied, to get drunk to death, one only needed to drink a glass of wine or what. Fortunately, the girl was studying classical Chinese. Her father asked about the Hongmin banquet, meaning the minister died and did not escape it, and the guilt was enough to say goodbye or what, to which Chi-Chi repeated her words about only needing a glass of wine to get drunk to death. Leon reported that yes, Chi-Chi's understanding is really different. He asked her to go play, leave her dad alone, so she did. She still relies on her deep cultural heritage. On her way out, Chi-Chi met the third sister. Chen reported that she wanted to go to her when she saw Daddy, so she asked the little girl to borrow Dabai. The third princess explained that she went to play and was bullied by a gang of boys. Chi-Chi asked about bullying others who would dare bully her. Chen asked about why mumble. They should just take out Dabai and get back at them. Street. Chi-Chi inquired about what was going on. Chen explained that she bought a red bean bun in that alley, and as soon as she took a bite, a gang of boys took it away. She ran after them, but their dog bit her. She'd been afraid of dogs all her life. She could have taken them all. The seventh princess began to calm her sister down and suggested she just go and punish them. Chen handed her a baton and explained that it was for self-defense. If those brats dared to hit her, she could beat them to death. Cheeky asked where she hid the baton. Act carefully. Courtesy first. If the enemy doesn't budge, she won't budge either. A stone flew at the third princess. She asked about the one who dared to treat her like that. The boys said that he did not expect such a thing, for he should be quieter than water, lower than grass. Cheeky, hearing their voice, realized that the voice sounded very much like a child. As soon as that gang of boys came out from around the corner, Chen announced that she was asking him if he would apologize to her in public. Otherwise, they would all be put in jail. They taunted her by saying how scary it was that if she was a princess, he was the wizard of the Emerald City, and then asked if a princess would eat buns bought from a commoner. Tsitsi explained that bullying and intimidating the weak is not the act of a gentleman. She then asked about how he was going to hurt her further after he stole her things. Those guys started laughing even more and talking about how eggs don't teach the chicken. They continued to mock them, saying about the two little princesses coming to sort things out. Cheeky exhaled and announced that they had already accomplished the first point. It was time to beat them up now. She picked up that baton and threw it at Duan Shilin, which hit him right in the forehead. All the boys ran over to him and asked him if everyone was all right. Chen turned to her sister and asked why she was hitting him, since he wasn't the one who stole the bun and he didn't say a word. The little girl explained that the thief would be caught first, and then the king. Chen is the eldest sister. She must have a sense of right and wrong. After all, he let them steal the bun and beans and let the dogs bite her. It's not right. Duan asked about what she wanted. Cheeky informed that they may not pay for the bean bun, but apologized to her sister. Chen reported about Cheeky defeating him so easily. Duan Shilin reported that he could apologize, but he could ask them to apologize, but he had a bump on his forehead because of her. Then how would the score be settled? Cheeky knew that he wouldn't compromise so easily. Babe asked her sister about why they shouldn't take Dabai out. Chen added that it was the end of the year, and if something happened, it would be hard to explain to her father, so on a 1, 2, 3, they'd run away. Cheeky asked the boy about how about he hit her too and apologized to her sister. Then they would get even and it would be fair. Dabai was already starting to growl. Duan made it known that if he hit her, it would really be a mockery of the weak. He turned to the boys and ordered them to apologize to her. They did so. The little girl couldn't believe that this apology had such an effect on them. Duan informed them that the bean bun was gone, so he couldn't refund it. Chen asked about whether he thought that if he gave it to her, she would want to eat it, or what. Is she like someone who doesn't have money for a new one? Being a beggar means acting like a beggar. If it happens again, he will be unfortunate. She threw the silver to them and informed them that next time, no stealing other people's stuff. The boys rushed over to that silver and talked about how it was really silver, it was money. They went up to him and told him that now they were rich, they would be able to see doctors. Their little sister would be saved. Chen asked about the fact that isn't it just metal? Why are they so happy? Cheeky replied that even the closest to the sun has dark corners. Turns out they wanted to save their little sister. That sounds really sad. Chen asked about why don't they go to the capital to the church. Since they have so little money, they should be accepted there. Duan asked about how she knew about this church, what it even was. Chen took out her gold badge and asked about what didn't this princess tell him before. Cheeky asked her not to show her badge because it was wrong. Those guys were excited to see what a huge piece of gold it was. Duan informed that in such a case he couldn't let them go for nothing. They all picked up their clubs from the floor. Chen asked about what he was doing. The princess kindly kept him alive. He shouldn't go near them anymore, not even at a cannon shot. To which the man replied that they all deserved to die. Tsitsi called out to Dabai, who immediately started growling at them. The boys asked about it being a real tiger or what. They should run away. All of them were very scared. So they did. They all started to run away. Chen would see what he could do about it. She ordered Dabai to show those bullies what he could do, but as soon as they wanted to jump on Duan, he immediately threw some powder in his eyes. Chi asked about what he did to him. Chen asked about how dare he even. As soon as she returned Ovo the palace, she would tell her dad, and he would get his head chopped off. He opened a bottle of some flavoring that put the princesses to sleep. As the sun set, the baby woke up and Chen was tied to a pole. It looked like those lousy guys had kidnapped them. She noticed some girl lying down and coughing. She was talking about not being thirsty. He asked her to be kind and drink this medicine. Then the sickness would recede. She went up to the bed and reported that he says this every time she drinks it. Vidurg Kiki sneezed. Duan turned to her and saw that she was already awake. The little girl asked about what he wanted. He approached her and asked if she was hungry, to which the little girl briefly replied, no, she wasn't hungry. She didn't understand how he even dared to kidnap the princess. Who knows, there might be poison in there. He took her hand and put it in her bun and informed her that she was such a little princess, so delicate, she must despise him and not want to eat the leftovers from the oven. She reported that when she first tasted it, even a bun seemed like a luxury. A dog came up to her. The little one rushed to him and asked about where her dabai was and what they had done to him, to which Duan replied that her white tiger was fine as long as she behaved herself. He kidnapped her, her sister, and the tiger cub. She asked him to let them go, and then she will give him money. Duan shouted, ordering her to shut up, and swung his hand. He hit the wall next to him and informed the little princess, gold is honored and jade is precious. Their lives are cheaper than this all. The little girl scrambled to explain that she didn't mean that. He grabbed her hand and pulled her along with words that she would go outside to beg for food, and if she said one word, her sister and the tiger would die. Already outside, the little girl was thinking about how she didn't want such a lesson. Duan asked about whether she had ever seen begging or not, to which Chiki replied that she understood what he meant. She asked about whether he really wanted her to do it. Chiki gathered more air and shouted that concerned citizens, brothers and sisters, grandparents, she asked them to save the child who was dying. Duan abruptly covered her mouth and asked about what she was doing. The little girl removed his hand and reported begging for copper coins, and then asked about the fact that didn't he himself wish she was doing it. The boy asked about the fact that if she begged for a penny like that, begging annoyed everyone and no one wanted to help. But suddenly everyone started throwing coins and wishing the best for her. Then Chiki thanked them for doing that. Duan was shocked. The little girl asked about, isn't he happy? They already have so much money. She asked him about if she had enough money, he would let them go or not. The guy asked about what she really thinks he brought there to ask for money. Kidnapping a princess is a serious crime that will destroy all the 9 clans. If he dies because of that, he will drag E with him. Chiki asked him not to do that. He asked her about if she knew what the seminar was about. Tsitsi asked if it wasn't a shelter. At first glance it is. They take in orphans, but behind doors. Babe asked what goes on behind the doors. He replied that she would know right away. He put his hand behind her back and pressed a point in her back to make her voice disappear. She didn't understand what he was up to, what was going on, or who had it. Suddenly there was a crowd of men looking for Duan. He grabbed the little girl's hand and signaled that it was time to run. One of the crowd said that they would see if he could escape and threw a baton, which hit him right on the head. He fell to the floor and pulled the princess with him. Duan made it known that he wouldn't let anything happen to her and apologized for involving her. Chiki didn't realize what was going on. He was intentionally drawing attention. Now she didn't understand what was going to happen to them. A man walked up and kicked him with his foot, with words about how he had been looking for him for a very long time. One of the crowd approached the little girl and asked about her parents being bakers by any chance. She was so cute. Duan abruptly broke out of his grip and ordered the man not to touch his sister and bit his hand. This made the little girl fall down sharply, and the guy was grabbed again. That man ordered them to take the two to the orphanage. Meanwhile, a great prince was passing by. He heard a commotion from the street. He asked about the commotion. He Yen, who was riding along with him, reported that it seems a few children had escaped from the orphanage. This happens often, and it's normal. When their stomachs are full and their bodies are warm, sometimes they start to miss the cruel world. The Grand Prince reported that it was so noisy. It was early morning, and it seems the Imperial Guaridia were busy looking for something. The prince was approached and informed of something. He asked about whether it was true. Yen asked about what happened, because he looks kinda bad. The great prince rose from his seat and motioned for him to follow. Meanwhile, the men kept asking about her being mute or what. She's pretty, but unfortunately she can't speak. Well, the world is full of men who like mute women. Tsitsi realized that the orphanage was involved in human trafficking. He grabbed her cheeks and informed her that he would take good care of her. Suddenly, his servants announced that a noble guest had arrived. Shelter. The Lord asked why they did not invite their guests inside. After all, they were from noble families. As soon as he entered the room, he was greeted by tigers. He asked the guest what had brought him to them at such a late hour. He noticed that the man was wearing expensive clothes, so he must be rich. The man asked about the kind of girl he wanted, for he must have heard rumors about the reputation of their establishment. The emperor asked about the kind they had. The man is completely unable to read him, and the emperor looks at him like a snake at a rabbit. The head of the orphanage informed that they have different ones. They will find one to his liking. Even though they are called an orphanage, they secretly provide various services. It is common if a couple of girls go missing from there. The emperor rose abruptly from his seat. He couldn't believe it. Suddenly a guard ran into the room. That man didn't understand what was going on, where all those soldiers had come from. But as soon as the soldiers turned to His Majesty, then the man understood everything. Shanggu entered the room and brought the princess in his arms. The emperor asked about who had done this to her. The little girl had frightened eyes. Shanggu reported that the seventh princess was fine. Her arm was sore, but he had examined her thoroughly, and she should recover soon. Lian apologized to his daughter that it was all his fault, for he had been careless in his treatment of her. The man couldn't believe this princess. The emperor handed her over to the sixth prince again and asked him to take her away, for she should not see what would follow. Lian ordered them all to be killed. The head of the orphanage asked for his forgiveness, for he didn't recognize him. Screams were heard, but her brother covered Chiki's ears so she couldn't hear. The little girl began to cry. He informed her that everything is fine. He is there for her. Shanggu doesn't even want to imagine what could have happened to her if they hadn't found her. What a relief. Chiki asked about whose tigers they were, to which the little brother replied that his name was Biho. He had been staying with her father's Lian Han for years. This really surprised her. After all, he called His Majesty by his name. That's a crime. Shanggu informed that she was not allowed to talk about it. She was in mortal danger. No one would believe her anyway. She agreed and settled back on his shoulder. As soon as the sixth prince showed himself, Chen immediately started running towards them. Chen ran up to her and asked her to look at her. She asked about the ones that hurt her, needing to see if there were any bruises. Chiki reported that she was fine and not hurt, but her clothes were soiled. She better not touch her. The third princess hugged her sister and reported that she was very worried, and if something happened to her, she would kill everyone there. Chiki continued to talk about how she was fine. Chen held out his handkerchief and asked her not to cry, as her beautiful face was already swollen with tears. The little girl cried even more and explained that it was the same for her. The princess turned to Duan and asked about whether he thought she would forgive him just because he sent someone to untie her, or what. Chiki reported that she was laughing one moment, and then angry the next. The guy was asking for forgiveness. Chen kept talking about how it was too late for that. The little girl tried to hold her little sister back and explained that she was sure he had his reasons for it. He must not be that bad. Chen then asked her about how she could thank him. He was using her for his own revenge. Duan asked about whether the life of a princess was more important than the life of an ordinary citizen. He explained that his sister had died in that orphanage when she was only 8. They had lied by saying she had died of malaria. Chen reported that it didn't mean he could use others for his revenge. The guy reported that that wasn't all he wanted. He certainly wanted to kill him, and then asked about the fact that is there any justice in this world. He admits that it wasn't the best way, but if he hadn't, they would never have known what the orphanage was hiding. Chiki explained that she understands his whole situation, but the world isn't divided only into black and white. He was able to shed light on what's going on in that orphanage, but they've already started investigating anyway. He didn't need to kidnap her. The investigation would have shut the place down anyway. The guy couldn't believe it. He asked about when the kingdom started caring about them. Mohan came up to them and asked about the fact that he ever believed that the kingdom would protect him. The uncle asked the little girl not to worry as he is there for her. Mohan embraced that he knows that Duan despises the kingdom because his father, General O, died. But he was a traitor, and the kingdom showed mercy and didn't wipe out his entire family, including him. The guy screamed about his father not being a traitor. He can understand why the guy holds a grudge, but he kidnapped the princess. The uncle asks the king to spare him but promises nothing. Duan reports that he is glad the orphanage will be closed, except that the children from the orphanage will be sold to other places where they will be abused, so they want to get rid of the orphanage. The 9th prince said that His Majesty will rebuild the orphanage and give it to a new owner, and the children will be put up for adoption to families where they will be taken care of. Guy asked about His Majesty actually taking care of the children. Chiki replied that since he says so, it must be true. Now he doesn't care what happens to him anymore. He thanked them for saving the children. Chiki was glad that the father, uncle, brother, sister, all of them are there. The emperor took the little girl's hand and suggested they go home. Night Palace. Avan kept crying and talking about how the princess had been through so much. Baby girl sat in the bathtub and talked about how everything was okay. She was safe now. Sis reported that she was so glad that the princess was back. In the 2 days that she was gone, His Majesty refused to attend the morning sessions. The little girl thought of how he would surely punish her for sneaking out of the palace. The emperor loves his daughter so much. After she came to her father, Chiki immediately threw herself into his arms. Leon asked about her injury and asked her to let him look at her, to which the little girl replied that she was fine. Just when the emperor was about to get angry with her, Chiki immediately apologized for such a thing and promised that she wouldn't run away from the palace again. He asked her about her lying again. She promises him that she won't again, and if she escapes, then she will study in his office for 2 whole months. He will remember that, but there shouldn't be a third time. Tsitsi asked about what would happen to the people he arrested at the shelter. The short answer was that they would all be killed. Leon explained that there seemed to be too many people involved in this case, and he would investigate it thoroughly. Chiki asked what would happen to the boy. The emperor replied that of course he would be killed as well. Chiki was horrified. She explained that he had only done that to reveal the truth about the orphanage, but her father added that he had held her hostage and had broken the law. The father embraced his daughter and explained that in order to have order in the empire, everyone should follow the rules, that the boy was good for revealing the orphanage's affairs, and then asked about the fact that if others start acting the same way as he did, then what would be the point of the law? The little girl asked about the law not being able to reason in 2 ways. He laid her on the bed and let her know that he was glad she was safe. If his plan had gone awry and she had been hurt, what would he have done then? Tsitsi wondered if that meant he could change his mind or what. There was hope. The little girl grabbed her father's hand and explained that it's not like she was injured. Besides, her uncle asked him to spare that boy, and her father can't dishonor him. The father asked about her using her own uncle to change his mind or what. The 7th princess reported that if he did as his uncle asked, everyone would consider him a merciful ruler. But if people knew about his deeds and that his uncle had asked him to show mercy, they would start comparing him to him. The emperor thought about the fact that the boy served the past emperor. If he kills him, people might not like it. Chiki cared so much for his daddy. Leon informed about the fact that she would think about it. This made Chiki very happy, and she kissed him on the cheek. I really appreciate your activity and support. Thank you for your warm comments. I read them all. In the meantime, I'm off to make a new video for you, and I wish you guys a good day and a great mood. See you guys soon. See you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.